Hello, everyone.
I'm Tim,
I'm Lydia.
and we're the Clarks.
For real. Thank you for joining us for another session with us. Today, we're going to be getting real about striking that balance between ministry and marriage and family. And this is something I know is an issue from being in the church for so many years and even in our own marriage. Over this last almost 39 years, we've both been in ministry and we had to really worked to achieve a workable balance. So 5 lessons, but we're going to give you some background first.
So, in the beginning of our marriage, we did things together. We were in ministry together.
Mm-hmm.
I was a musician, and I was over choir and praise team. And we were helping a pastor. We were helping to build a church and build a ministry. And so we were, together. We traveled together.
I was in the choir too.
Yes, she was in the choir too. One of my choir members. And so it was good. Things were going good. And after a while, we began to have a family, began to have children. And so after we had children, Lydia kind of slowed down, kind of got out the choir, but I kept going. As a matter of fact, I did a little more. I was took part in the community choir and a state choir, and I had rehearsals and meetings and other, activities that took away from the family.
Plus, he was working.
Yes, and I was working full time too, so that took a lot from the family. Yeah, so it started getting tense in a marriage and then with my family.
Well, really, it was more intense because of me. Because, he was gone a lot. And if you remember from previous videos, my dream was to get married and to have a husband and a family. And I felt like I was a single mom, and yeah. So when he was home now, he was really home. He was 100%. Because let me say this too. I know in some families that even when the father or the husband came home, he would kind of like steal away to himself. So even though he was home, he still wasn't available. But that wasn't Tim. Okay, when he was there, he did all kind of things with the kids, and he spent time with me. We had him 100%. It's just the problem was he was gone a lot, and I was left trying to deal with these kids, on my own, which I don't, didn't mind. They're my kids, but I could have stayed single. I could have been single and done that, but I wanted an intact whole family.
And I thought that time, me being home, with the kids and was quality time.
Yes.
With them, and I thought that was enough.
Wasn't enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because see, my love language is physical touch. Okay, it's not quality time, but for him to touch me or me to touch him, we need to be in the same vicinity. So it's still the same thing. Anywho.
So lesson that we learned.
First lesson
that we learned is that you have to do what's best for your family. I have to do what's best for my wife and for my family. Mm-hmm. And I had to deal with her, know her according to knowledge. 1 Peter 3:7 says that our husbands ought to dwell with your wives or live with your wives according to knowledge, how knowing them so that your prayers won't be hindered. So I didn't want my prayers to be hindered. So I need to get to know her. And it's, you're constantly getting to know them. I'm getting to know her even now. But you have to deal with them according to knowledge. And you can't go by what other people are doing, You have to do what works best for you in your relationship. And that's what I had to do with Lydia in my family.
We would see other couples or families in ministry, and the husband or the father, they'd be gone for like weeks at a time, going all over the world. And I struggled with that. We would have guests come to our church to minister, to speak, and they would share their itinerary. And it's like, man, they're going to be going a lot. And I knew they were married and I knew they had children. And I would ask God, I'm like, God, would you really do that? Would you really call someone to that kind of ministry when they have a family? I just didn't feel like that would be something that God would do, because I felt like also people were trying to live Paul's life, but with a wife. And I'm talking about Paul in the Bible, because he was a missionary. He traveled all over, but he was like, hey, I'm single, and I recommend that if you want to minister that you be single too. But I felt like a lot of people, they wanted their cake and eat it too. They wanted to go travel and be like Paul, but they also wanted a family. And it's like, now, if you wanted to Paul's life, then you just should have stayed single. That was me. But, there are, I guess, wives and children out there who don't mind, that their husband or father, or even if it's flipped, the wife or whatever is gone. Maybe some women, they enjoy their time away from their spouse, but that just was not me. And that's why he was saying you can't compare your marriage, your family, to what other people are doing. You have to do what's best for your marriage.
Yes.
Yeah. So lesson number 2 that we learned is that your family is a ministry. Your family needs ministry. They are people, and they need ministry. And I think sometimes we equate doing ministry with doing something outside of the home. Like we have to minister to people outside of the home. That is really ministry. But there has to be a balance with that. You can't sacrifice what's in the home for ministering outside the home. I don't believe that's what God has called us to do. We spend a lot of time in church, and that is parallel time together. It's like we're all there, but we're not interacting with one another. As a matter of fact, Tim, because he was the musician at the church, he would always be at the keyboard, and I would be with the kids out in the audience. And it was a struggle. I just felt like I was always by myself. But anyway, I remember specifically when the Lord told me, he's like, hey, you know what? Your children need ministry. And just like the people outside of your family need the gifts that I put in you, your children and your husband, they need that too. And not just maybe them, but even like my extended family. It's like they are people. They need to be saved. They need to be healed. They need to be delivered. They need to be taught. And I was like, wow, I didn't get that before, because I would always hear that phrase, you just can't be concerned about your 4 and no more, which is true. There has to be a balance, but it can't be forsaking those that God gave you for real, as far as marriage and family. Because the Lord said, if you don't minister to your children, who will?
Yes.
Who will minister to them?
Because the first ministry is to the Lord, and then it's to your family. God put you, the family there, the husband with the wife, and then the children, family, for you to minister to them. And then, we go out into the church, we go out into the community or what.
As Tim was saying, God comes first. But he doesn't just come first when we're in church. We don't, the only time we spend with God can't be in church. It has to be in the home. You start off in your prayer closet, spending time with God, and you get filled up. And then you spend time with your family in worship and building them up. And then what comes out of that is what you have to go minister to everybody else. Is from what you do in the home. And then that spills out into what goes on. I mean, you have to have something to offer and be a witness. And even your family is a witness. Your family is a witness. And so that has to be strong and built up too.
Another lesson that we learn is that you have to make time for your spouse. In order to get to know them, you have to spend time with them. And we did it when we were dating, but it has to continue when you're married. So we had to, set aside times specifically for us, that we can spend time together and get away or vacation or staycation, whatever it may be. So
yeah, just for a few hours or a day or a couple days, because we felt like we started off without kids. Without kids, it was me and him. Okay. And then we had kids, and I know a lot of people prioritize their children over their marriage, but we didn't think that was a wise thing to do, because at some point the children would be grown and gone, and it'd just be us. And I didn't want personally that when our children left, that Tim and I, here we are for the rest of our lives, and we have evolved into different people, because you grow in life. You go through changes, and if you don't take that time to spend together and listen to each other and know what's going on in each other's lives, when you get to when your children are gone, which could be 18 years for us, I don't know, what was it, like 30 35, because our children were so spread out, you'd be like, who are you? And I didn't want us to end up like that. And then also, as far as our home goes, I felt like if our marriage is healthy, then the family's going to be good.
Yes, family would be good. Our children would be good, and they'll be examples, because we have to be examples for them and others to follow. If they don't have no good examples to follow, then where are they going to go? Where are they going to look for that? So you look for that in the home, and that's why it's important for us to spend time together, to work and to build on our marriage, to get to know each other more.
Over and over, and just talk about things, just be together, just have quiet time, because we had a lot of kids. And I know for some people it's really difficult for them to leave their children with other people, so you can go on dates or like overnight trips like we did. We went to marriage conferences because we were serious about enriching our marriage. So we had married couples fellowships, and it's hard to trust people to watch out for your kids, but it's important that you find that village that would help. And I thank God that we had a strong village with our family and very close friends who wanted our marriage to succeed as well. And so they would sow into it by watching our children. But what I would tell my children is, so that they wouldn't feel abandoned, is like, Dad, it's important that Dad and I spend time together. We're not abandoning you. We will be back. We love you more than words could say. But this is just Mom and Dad time. We just need some time. We will be back for you. And so they understood that we prioritized our marriage. And sometimes it would get tense between us, And so
we would look at each other and say, you know what, it's time to get away. We got to get out of here.
Yeah, because life stresses, just make you tense and kind of pushes you apart. So it was critical. So we did date nights, and in the beginning, when we had our first two, who were only 19 months apart, both of us were working full time. We were in church like all the time. We were exhausted. And we had a couple who were friends of ours, and they offered, we didn't even ask, they offered, they said, hey, we will come to your apartment once a week just so you all can get away and just have a couple hours together or something. And they did that for us, and we were so grateful. We would be so tired, but we just had alone time, and we appreciate it. So to everyone that sewed into our marriage by helping us with our children, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes.
But that's an important lesson. You got to really sow into your marriage. It's like a house. You can have a house and do nothing to it. Just nothing. And it's going to fall apart eventually with you just doing nothing but living in it. And that's how marriage is. It has to be maintained on a regular basis so it can be healthy and strong. Okay. So the fourth lesson is, it's okay to say no.
Yes. You have to say no sometimes. I had to learn, to say no to some things and some people too.
That was hard for him.
It's hard, but
it was hard for me too.
Yeah, but it's something you had to do, in order to for your well-being, and so that you don't burn out, and so that your marriage can grow and your marriage can last. So we had to say no, and then sometimes to get help or to seek out others to help you take on some of the responsibilities. So, and in doing that, I found out that our marriage that we began to grow, and there was a feeling of well-being.
Yeah, that's critically important to set boundaries. Because what I found out is that people don't set that for you. As much as you're willing to give, that's as much as they're willing to take. They just know what they need, and that's what they're going to ask. So you have to be able to set your own boundaries for you, so you can be with your family, your spouse, and also so that you can be, like Tim said, individually healthy and not burn out. I always felt like I had to be doing something. Like my salvation with God is not based on works. I didn't feel like God only loved me because I did stuff. I feel like people did, but not God. I was secure in God's love once I understood God's unconditional love. But I felt like He expected me to be busy and productive and doing ministry or something all the time. So I didn't feel like if I wasn't, it's like, oh, I gotta bear fruit. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And then one day the Lord was like, He said, the things that you feel like are required of you, He's like, I didn't require them. He said, people have required things of you that I didn't even require. And I was like, really? He was like, nope. He said, I created all things for you to enjoy. I was just working through life, but I wasn't really like taking time to enjoy life. Like, even if I spent time with Tim and we went somewhere, it was more so I was working on my marriage. It wasn't that God just wanted me to just relax and enjoy life. And when I understood that, it really reinforced that I could say no, that I could draw some boundaries because God wasn't requiring all of that of me. I was happy. I was like, it took a long time. Like, this wasn't that long ago. Oh, that's why I look tired all the time. Just from the life that I lived before He told me that. I burned myself out. But I'm just so thankful now that I know that. And so that's very important.
Well, the fifth lesson that we learn is that we go through seasons. There are seasons in our life where sometimes that we have to do more in one area than the other. And it goes for ministry. I remember some concerts that I had that it took a little extra time, more time to put into it, to have a successful concert, working with the musicians and singers and different people. But I went to Lydia, we had to have an understanding, and we talked about it. And when we talked about that, we had the understanding that, because I have this concert and I'm going to have some more meetings and it may take a little longer rehearsals. And she understood that, and we got that understanding. I was able to spend a little more time in that season preparing for the concert and preparing for the activities that I was doing. But when that was over, we would come back together. Usually it'd be a time of getting away because those times were draining, those concerts or activities or just different things that took more in that season.
Yeah, and I did post-abortion ministry, and that I facilitated like post-abortion Bible studies, and those were seasons of extended ministry where they were 9 weeks. We would meet for 9 weeks, and I had to get okay with Tim that this is a good time. We couldn't be doing things at the same time. He couldn't be doing concerts and I be doing these Bible studies, because those Bible studies were emotionally draining for me. And during those times, especially on the day of the Bible studies that we met, I would come home and I would just be emotionally drained. I was like a limp rag. I couldn't do anything. He would have to handle dinners, spend more time with the kids. Basically, that whole 9 weeks was kind of rough because, of what we were dealing with. But he agreed, and he took on, more responsibility with the kids and for dinners and things like that. And we would have memorial services as part of the Bible studies, and he would do the music for us. And so he was very supportive of what I did, but it's because we had talked about it. And when you do that, it's like you're showing that you're valuable, that I'm not just disregarding you because this is what God called me to do. This is what God called me to do. So, whatever you're dealing with, that doesn't even matter. I don't think that's godly. Personally, I don't think that. Yeah, God has called you to do things, but he's also called you to be a spouse if you're married and to be a parent. And so you have to consider that person. You can't say, well, God comes first and I just got to go do this,
Yeah, to consider that person, and I was supportive of her and she supported me in activities and concerts and things that I was doing. So we got to support each other to get that, balance, or if you want to call it that, balance, so that it's not weighing more on one person and they're not burnt out or worn out. So.
And again, that depends on your marriage and what you want out of it. We're just sharing our experience.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much for watching and listening.
Yes, thank you. Until next time, be the you God made you.
And just keep it real.